Good. Okay.
Yeah. Hair's good. Everything's good.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we are live. Let's do this. Okay, Maria.
Hi.
What is up?
Nothing much. Just taking care of babies.
We're gonna do some baby talk today, huh?
Baby talk. Yep.
Okay. I have never spoke to anybody who's had a baby in Germany, in an American that's had a baby in Germany. I know it's a big thing. I just haven't had talked to anybody that's actually had a baby over here and it's gone and experienced that and stuff. But I know it's like a real big thing, a big stressor for a lot of women that come over here. So I know that I reached out to another spouse who I think might have been a friend of yours, who told me that you just had a baby. I saw your video online and it was terrific. And it kind of spelled out the differences between German and American. And in terms of having a baby in the US and Germany. And so I wanted to just go over that really quick again. I got a bunch of questions for you to, for our audience to be able to learn about this topic. So before we get into that, tell me just who you are. I know you guys have a YouTube channel. Talk about that. And yeah, go ahead.
Okay, well, my name's Maria and this is Truett. And we live here in Grafenwoehr, Germany. I'm a military spouse. My husband is active duty here. And like Daniel said, we do have a YouTube channel and it is called The Trailblazed Peppers. And we love living here in Germany and we love to travel and it is just amazing here to live in Germany.
Nice. And how long you guys been here now?
It'll be 2 years this October. So.
Okay. And you guys, where are you living at? Are you in Grafenwoehr? Maybe you already said that.
We live in Netzeburg.
Netzeburg. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and my husband is stationed at Grafenwoehr. So.
Okay, sweet. And this is your second child, right?
Yes. He is my second. Yep.
Okay. And so this is actually important because you had a baby in the States and now you have a baby over here in Germany. So you're like the perfect candidate to talk about what it's like in the States versus what it's like over here in Germany. So
absolutely.
Okay, let's just get straight into it here. So one of my first questions I had for you is like, did you even plan on having a baby when you came over here?
We did. We had planned on getting pregnant again. And I was looking forward to having another baby in Germany because I thought that was such a cool experience to get to do, to have a baby in another country and to experience their culture and their hospital and just their prenatal care. So yeah, it was planned.
When were you? So you weren't nervous at all? No anxiety about that? You just wanted to?
I think it's because I already had a child, so I knew what it was like to have another baby. But I was nervous about the actual having the baby in a German hospital. I was worried about the language, not knowing if they're going to be able to speak English to me. I knew they would speak English, but that I would understand. So there were some nerves, but honestly, in the moment, you're just I want to have this baby, So yeah.
Right. Okay. So then let's talk about pre-planning. So you found out you were pregnant, right?
Yeah.
What type of pre-planning did you do once you knew you were pregnant? What exactly did you do? Were there support groups? What type of research were you doing? What type of local resources and things were you doing to get prepared for the birth?
Okay, so once you find out you're pregnant, you call the on-post medical clinic and you tell them that you're pregnant and they schedule you an appointment to come in and they want you to take a pregnancy test, to prove that you're pregnant. And once that comes back, you go to a class that they offer in the clinic and they just talk to you about what to expect. Having a baby here, they give you a list of doctors that you can choose from that are TRICARE approved and the hospitals that we can have our babies in. And there is also a class. It's located on Vilsec, I believe. It's called Baby Bootcamp. And it's a class that they offer new parents or veteran parents. I don't know if I should say veteran, but parents who are going to have a baby. And they tell you what to expect about having a baby here in Germany, the birthing process here, I forget what else, and just like breastfeeding tips and stuff. So that's what they offer as well. We did not do that class, but I have heard that it's a really good class.
Okay. And this is all free, right? Through TRICARE?
Yeah, it's all free.
Okay. So this is my next question then. You guys are obviously active duty, so you're enrolled in you're enrolled with TRICARE, right?
Yes.
Now, do you know anything about like civilians, for example? Like my wife and I, for example, we don't have TRICARE, so we would have our dentist, our health, all that stuff is on base. Do you know?
I do have a friend that she's a civilian, and they had a baby back in December, and I don't think she could, she can't use the clinic on post, she wasn't able to do that. Or at least I don't think so. Honestly, I'm not a good person to ask because I don't really know 100%, if that's possible, if they're able to.
I didn't even think about that until just now. I probably should have wrote to you earlier and said, hey, what's the difference between, active duty and civilians, with care and all that kind of stuff. But I guess we'll leave that up for another video in the future. Okay, cool. All right. So we talked about where you went to support for resources. You just went through the base and through TRICARE, right? Okay.
Yes. And sorry, one more thing. There is a Facebook group, and it's called New Mommies in Germany. Let me see. I wrote it down. Sorry. Oh, yeah. It's New and Expecting Army Moms in Germany. It's just a Facebook group, and you can reach a lot of women there just asking about like where you should give birth and like what doctors are good. That's a good resource. And a lot of women just ask a lot of questions and like help and stuff on there. So that's a good place to go to as well.
Okay, and is that for just American military women in Germany?
Yes. Yeah, that at least
all over Germany.
Yeah, and it's called In Germany, but I've noticed that it's mainly a lot of people here in Graf and Vilseck. At least from what I've seen posted, people asking about questions about this area. So I'm not sure if someone who made it is from this area, but it's called In Germany. So anybody can get on there.
Okay. You spoke to me earlier when we were texting earlier. You told me about your OB-GYN and you had to pick one, right? Tell me about that process. How did you know who you wanted to use and that type of thing?
Well, I asked a lot of my friends who I have known had babies here and on that Facebook group, asking like, what's the best doctor to go to? Where do people recommend? And of course, everyone has different opinions. Everyone has different opinions on doctors. Like I know a lot of women don't like going to some of the German doctors because they're very like, they just get in, they check you, and that's it. There's not like talking, and they don't want to know how you're like doing in a deep sense of a way. But sometimes that's good. I mean, especially if you already have kids and you're like, I gotta go. But so that is one downside. Sometimes they're not as good about, the touchy-feely things, but it's give or take, right? I mean, I had great care. I had great prenatal care. So
yeah. So I guess the best thing to do then would be to go to that Facebook group for support on different options.
Yes, yeah. That's where I found out as well, like where I wanted to go for my prenatal care.
Would you say that was the next step? So you found out you're pregnant. You went to the clinic to do all your necessary appointments to make sure that you are pregnant, and then and
but
then
it's such a silly thing, but yeah.
Well, hey,
you never know, I guess. Yeah.
You never know. And then so once you did that, then the next step would be OB-GYN, yeah?
Yes. So at that appointment you have, they want you to pick a doctor. So I picked my doctor, and they put in a referral for them to call you and to schedule your appointment with your OB-GYN for your first appointment.
What doctor did you choose?
His name is Dr. Riedel. He is located in Amberg. It was a bit of a drive for me. It was like 45 minutes, but like I had heard such like wonderful things about his clinic, and it was an awesome clinic. I had a great experience with my prenatal care. He was very kind and always asked if I needed anything, like questions and stuff. So yeah, he was great. He was wonderful.
And how often did you have to go to him?
Oh, that was another thing. You go to the doctor here a lot more than you do in the States. Like, I want to say I went like 20 plus times, like just for checkups, not like, hang on. Okay. So I went to the doctor quite a bit. I want to say like 20 plus times. They just check up on you a lot. And at every appointment, they do an ultrasound, which I loved. That was great. Because in the States, you only get like 8-week appointment, which is to prove you're pregnant and they want to check the viability of the baby. And then a 12-week appointment and then a 20-week. And that's it. But at my appointments, I had an ultrasound every time when I went, which is great because it really makes you like less worried and just calms you down, making sure everything's okay.
So what else are they doing then? Like, and you got to understand, like, forgive me.
Yeah.
Like,
You
don't have kids. I don't know about this.
Yeah, no, I get it. No, yes.
What else are you doing within these 20 times that you're there? Like,
so at every appointment, you go and they check your vitals. I had low iron, so they had to check my blood a lot, and I had to take iron supplements every time they do that. And then when you get, I think it was 28 weeks pregnant at every appointment after that, which is like every, I want to say 3 to 4 weeks, which no, maybe 2 weeks. I can't remember, but you would do a stress test, which a lot of moms that are going to be seeing this know what that is. It's like they're just checking your baby to make sure you don't have any like contractions. They're checking their heart rate. So you get that every appointment. And then in the States, I only got that once with my other child because they could tell like his heart rate was like being really weird. So that was very different.
You have all these different appointments you have to do beforehand. Okay, so that kind of leads me to my question, which is, what are the biggest differences between USA, Germany, with regards to trial pre-stuff?
The biggest difference I experienced, of course, with the prenatal care was all the appointments I had and all that. But the biggest difference was my postnatal care. Like after I had Truett, it was just very different. And it was very different than what I experienced with my first child. I don't know how much detail you want me to go into, but like in the States, well, a lot of moms, if know when the States you have a baby, they come and check on you constantly. They are constantly coming in the room, checking on you, doing your blood pressure, checking all that stuff, making sure you're good. But here, I didn't get checked on at all. Like they never came in to check me. They never really checked on him very much. I mean, the only time I spoke to a nurse was the morning, like when they would change their shift. So like a morning nurse and an evening nurse, and that was it. Now I could call my nurse and tell her I needed something, but I never really did. But they didn't come in, and like moms will know what I'm talking about. Like they didn't come in and push on my stomach to like make sure everything was going good down there. Right. So that was really weird, because I was so used to my first child. Like I was bothered so much, but then at the same time, it's like, because they were checking on me, but this time it was like, am I being checked on enough? And it was really, really stressful. And it did kind of, it just makes you a little nervous of how, if your care is okay. But I never felt like my care wasn't good, I guess I should say.
Yeah. It wasn't up to the standard that you were used to, right? Oh yeah,
it's definitely a different standard. And I shared a room with another mom, and that's another big difference, because in the States, you don't share a room with another mom. Like it's very rare. I don't even think they do that anymore. So I had to share a room with another woman who had a baby, and there was no curtain to pull in between me and her. And I'm telling you that it was, that was a culture shock for me. Like trying to like breastfeed, if you choose to breastfeed, like that's awkward. And she's breastfeeding her child where my husband's sitting right here. Like it was really weird. And that was really hard. And they don't have a lot of family rooms. I had my baby in Vidin, which only have one family room, and it was taken. So we had to share a room, and we just had to deal with it and just roll with the punches and took in the whole experience that I was wanting. So I got my experience of having a baby in Germany, that's for sure. Yeah,
I'm picturing all this happening, you know what I mean?
I'm telling you, I don't want to scare these ladies, because
no.
I want people
this
to
is
know
important.
Yes,
this is important, though. I mean, I feel like the more detail, the better, because where else are you going to get these answers to these, to these questions? These very specific, detailed, you know what I mean? So, okay, so I need.
I know. I'm like, do you really want to know like the details? So
let me ask this: when you shared a a room with this other person, did you actually like give birth with this other woman?
No. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. I did have him in another room, and then I was moved to a mommy and like baby unit, like post care. So I did not have to have him in that room with her. That would have been also another, no, that would not. So that does not happen. I don't think that happens. I mean, unless it's a strange thing that you could have your baby with her in there with you, with another person, but majority of the time you're going to be in another birthing room by yourself, not, having your child. So.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah. That's a good question. That's a good question. Because you never know.
Yeah. I'm going to ask all the good questions, I hope. Okay. So speaking of good questions, let's talk about drugs.
Well, yes.
So what, but I mean, first of all, what type of pregnancy did you have, And then what's up with, I know that Germany is a little weird about their drugs, and how much they give to you, and how strong the drugs are, you know what I mean? So talk to me about that a little bit, in that process. Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted an epidural. And so if you want to get an epidural here in Germany, unlike in the States, you can just go in, have your baby, I want an epidural, and they'll give you one, like sign a paper. Here, you have to go to the hospital at like 32 weeks, and you have to meet an anesthesiologist. He talks to you about what he's going to do when you want your epidural. Like, he goes into detail. Like, it's almost like they don't want you to get it. Like, they're like, this is really dangerous. And I'm like, I don't care. Like, I need this. Then you have to sign a paper. And so then when you come and have your baby, you can get your epidural because you did your pre stuff. Now, I've heard from other moms that they had to have a baby somewhere else and they could not get an epidural because they were not registered at that hospital. So they were unable to get their epidural, and because they didn't register at the hospital and they didn't meet that anesthesiologist before. So that's important. If you really want that, you have to go and talk to them.
And how do you said you have to register with the hospital? Like, when does this happen?
So at 32 weeks pregnant, you go to the hospital you want to give birth to. The medical clinic will send like a referral. You tell the medical clinic, okay, I want to have my baby in Weiden, Amberg, Sulzbach. Those are the 3 options that you have. And they will put a referral in through TRICARE. Then you go to that. I called and made an appointment. So you have to make an appointment on the day you want to come in. So you go to that appointment, you meet your anesthesiologist, you meet a doctor who's going to check you out. They just check you to see how you're doing, an ultrasound and that stress test I was talking about. And you just fill out a bunch of other paperwork, mainly registration stuff. So that's at 32 weeks. Which you do that in the States as well, but like you don't normally, I don't think I did not. Whenever I went to have my son, I remember being like, I want my epidural, and I signed a paper and I got my epidural. Unlike having to go early and fill all that out and sit at a desk and talk to an anesthesiologist who is going to tell you like, I'm going to put this needle in your spine. You could go paralyzed. You may never walk again. And I'm like, I don't care. You're giving me those drugs. But, and I have heard from other women that the epidural is not as strong here, that you get epidural in the States, you stay in bed. You cannot get up, you cannot walk, you're laying there until you give birth. Here, you get an epidural, you can get up and walk around and move and try and work your baby out, basically. So
it sounds like you didn't get the epidural.
No, you're giving me those drugs. I did not have the birth experience either that I was expecting to have. Like, I was expecting to have an epidural and to have my baby pain-free. That did not happen because he just came too fast. Giggity. And I was already at a 6 centimeter, and they were like, no, you cannot get this. And so I had him without drugs, without anything. So that was very different from my first child. So I had a vaginal birth. Yeah. Okay. I had a vaginal birth, and I had a vaginal birth in my first child. So I knew what to expect, but I had the epidural with my first son. I didn't feel all the things that I felt with him. It was, I'm telling you, it was crazy. And yeah, that's just, it was nuts. And
I mean, yeah, okay. If you want to talk about pain, go ahead. You know what I mean? Don't let me stop.
Well, then the postnatal, in the States, they come every time they check on you. Do you need any medicine? Do you want some Tylenol, ibuprofen? Because that's all they give you in the States. But here in Germany, they would ask me, like, do you want any medicine? And one time I was like, yeah, I'd like some, but they never brought it. Like, I think they forgot, which I wasn't in like super amount of pain, so I was just like, it's fine. It's not a big deal. Like, I wasn't in excruciating pain, but that was also different. Like, they didn't come around in rounds is what they call it. And do you need medicine? Do you need anything for your baby? Do you need anything? That wasn't something they did, so it was just different.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a quick question for you that I probably should have asked ahead of time, but did you have the doctor before the birth? Did you have the doctor's contact information? Like if you ever needed an emergency or?
Yeah. So what was great about Riedel's office, Dr. Riedel, his name is Tobias, because I couldn't remember his first name was Tobias. They had a Facebook and I could message them on Facebook and be like, this is going on, or I need some kind of like medication. Or there was one time, like, I wasn't sure if he was okay. Like I didn't feel him as much, inside. So I freaked out and I was able to message and be like, hey, I'm not sure everything is going on. And they were awesome. They were able to be like, hey, come in today at like 2:00 and we will check them out. So they have a Facebook, messaging system that you can talk to them, which I loved that. That was really good. I enjoyed that.
Okay. Is there anything else that I missed with regards to, having birth and then, post-birth, being in the room, woman? Is there anything else, big differences or anything else that you wanted to mention about that experience?
Yeah. So I know there was one question. I don't know if you were going to get to about my husband's role.
Yes.
Yeah. So ours is what happened to us was it doesn't always happen. So long story short, Lucas was not there when I gave birth, because when I went to the hospital and was like, I'm having this baby, I'm like contractions, they checked me and they're like, oh, well, you're only 1 centimeter. So you're supposed to get to 10 centimeters. So they're like, you're at a 1. So we don't think you're in active labor. And I was like, yes, I am. But they were like, no, you're not. But we'll keep you overnight. We'll just stick you over here. So I was in that room with that woman laboring for a good 2 hours. Lucas had to leave though. He had to leave because visiting hours, the time I had my baby, I don't know what it's like now, was 6 at night. I'm sorry, the visiting hours was noon to 6. So from 6 at night till noon the next morning, no one can visit you. Your husband can't be there. Nobody can be there with you. So I was alone. Laboring. I walked over to the delivery area, walked mid contractions over, and was like, hey, I think, things are really progressing. I think I need some medicine. And that's when they checked me and she was like, oh, you're at a 6. And I was like, great. Because Lucas was home. I sent him home. We were like, all right, just go home. So I called him and I was like, hey, I'm at a 6. You need to get here. Well, we live 30 minutes from Biden. Well, you know what happened? He decided he was ready to come out. So he came out like that. And Lucas wasn't there. So I was alone with my midwife. With a midwife and a doctor. So yeah. But and if I could go back, Lucas would have just stayed in the hospital, down in the lobby or in the car. But we were misled. They were like, oh, you're probably not going to have your baby anytime soon. So I was like, just go home. You can come back tomorrow. So yeah.
That's crazy that the visiting hours are only till 6 p.m. though.
Yes. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yes. So from noon to 6, that was the visiting hours. But luckily I had him at 6 a.m. and I was worried that they were going to make Lucas leave and then come back, but they did let him stay. They did let him stay up until 6 that evening. So he was able to stay for a good long time. And then he did go home. And then I left the next day. And that's another thing. Germans, they will want us to stay 3 days in the hospital, even with a vaginal birth, which you don't know, but that's a long time. In the States, they really only want you to stay 2 days. So here they're you need to stay 3 days. We need to do all these tests. But I was like, no, I'm not staying. Like, because they weren't checking on me. They weren't checking on him. We were healthy. I didn't have any issues. So we left home after 24 hours of having him. So that's
okay.
And that's a big thing too. I mean, that's a big thing. Women don't want to stay long because we have to share a room, and that's very, it's very personal time. And so when you're having to share a room with another woman, it's like, I just want to go home. I just want to suffer at home. Like, I'm just going to go home and like be in pain, so
Okay.
yeah.
I forgot to ask, but you mentioned a midwife.
Yeah, the hospital has midwives. I did not have a midwife like during my pregnancy. I know some women do get midwives and they have them. I did not have one, but I know some women do get some and have one throughout their pregnancy. But the hospital has a midwife. And actually, she was the one that actually delivered him more than the doctor. She was the one that was more like, push, tell me when to do stuff, tell me when to push, tell me when to breathe. Since my husband wasn't there, she was like my support person, and she was great. I mean, I yelled at her a couple times, and she was like, "You're going to do this." Because I was like, "I'm not doing this. I'm not having this baby." And she was like, "You can and you will," in English, which was scary because she's German. And I was like, "Okay, you're right. I will." So yeah. Yeah, dude, let me tell you, when a German gets mad and they're in English, yelling at you in English, it's actually quite terrifying because like they're serious. And you're like, "Okay, you're right. I will have this baby. I have to." So yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Now that you know what you know, and you've had your baby here, what are your biggest tips for women who think they're going to get pregnant or get pregnant here while living in Germany?
Well, man, I would not have another baby here in Germany, but it's because I already did it. I wouldn't let my story scare any women from having a baby, because I'm telling you, the prenatal care here is way better than the States. The prenatal care was amazing. Like, I can't stress that enough. So if you really want to have a baby, or if this is your first baby, then you should have a baby here. And if this is your first child, and because support here is hard, we don't have our parents, we don't have grandparents, we don't have family to help us, that I would really seek out help from, like, that baby boot camp I was talking about. I didn't do it, but I do suggest that. I've had friends do it, and they said it was great. Like, they had awesome help, with like breastfeeding, with like what to expect with having a baby, which I probably should have done the class, but we did not. We just didn't have the time. And just be prepared that it's going to be different from the birth. If they had a birth in the USA, that it's going to be different, and to reach out to any other moms and just to talk about it, and just to ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And try to get a private family room whenever you have your baby, because then your husband can stay the whole time. If you have a private family room, they can stay. Like, Lucas could have stayed, but Biden only had one. And I've heard some rumors that they're getting 4 family rooms in Biden. So maybe it'll be better. I know Amberg has some family rooms. And I think Sulzbach, a lot of people like to have their babies there because it's a smaller hospital, but it doesn't have a NICU. So if your baby has to go to a NICU, they're going to leave. They're going to probably have to go to Regensburg.
A what?
A NICU. Like, if your baby needs to go, like an intensive care, neonatal intensive care, like ICU for babies.
Okay.
Like, if they need, like if they're born and they have a hard time breathing and they have to go to the NICU, is what they call it, an ICU. My baby did not have to do that, but some babies do. And if you have your baby in Sulzbach, I've heard that your baby will get sent to a different hospital. So, you just gotta do your research and do what feels best.
Would you recommend that, especially if it's your first child and you're living over here in Germany, that you bring your family over here?
Yes, I do suggest. So I was very, very lucky and blessed that my parents came the month before he was born and just hung out with us, and they stayed with my other child, that's also, if you have another child and you don't know what to do with that child while you're in the hospital having your baby because your husband's there, is to have your family here to stay with your other child, or just to be here to help you. And then my parents stayed 2 months after my child, this baby, was born. And it's just, and I know not everybody's family can come visit, but if you can get your family to come visit, like, you should get them to come, because, well, who doesn't want to come to Germany and see their new like grandchild, or new nephew or niece? So
right, of course,
Yeah.
And add a little sprinkle a little travel in there too. Right?
Yeah. I mean, we did when my parents were here, man. He was 3 weeks old and we went to Garmisch, Edelweiss. I mean, he was 3 weeks old going on top of the Zugspitze. I was like, we're doing it. I mean, that's why we moved here. We moved here to travel. So, and that's why we have a channel. We wanted to document all our stuff we're doing.
Good. Well, I'm glad that you are doing that. I don't think there are enough people documenting their experiences over here in Germany.
No.
And I know there's a lot of, especially spouses, that are out there scouring the internet, looking for solutions to this experience being here in Germany, which is why I created my channel too. So good on you for that. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that's all I really had. Unless you had anything else, I will make sure to let people know how to follow you guys on YouTube, and I will put all the links to like the Facebook group pages and all the things that you mentioned. I'll put the links and all that in the description of this video.
And ladies, and all the ladies are welcome to like message me personally, like on Facebook, or we're on Instagram as well. Like, they are absolutely welcome to message me with questions. I mean, I might not be the best, but I could help them, point them to the right, direction if they need anything, or just to talk about what it's like, to have a baby here and to be real.
Yeah, no, that's actually a good point.
Not sugar-coated, because it's not sugar-coated,
That's actually a really good point, because most people, after I get done making a YouTube video and I'm talking about some topic, they write comments to me.
And you're like, I don't know.
Don't write comments to me about, I don't have answers to this whole thing. So
absolutely. Yes, they can message me anytime. I'm up all the time, even at night. They can message me at 2:00 in the morning. I will be awake.
Okay, well, Maria, thank you so much for all this information. I'll get this published and out there so people can start listening as soon as possible. And again, if you want to follow more of her stuff, Trailblazing Peppers.
Yeah, Trailblazing. I am no G. Trailblazing Peppers.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.